What up, guys? That Comic Awesome here, doing another review, doing the Immortal Men #1. And I have to say, out of all of the new age of heroes, this was probably one of the ones I was not that interested in. That being said, not being interested in it, it didn't let me down. It wasn't horrible. There was a lot that I could see wrong with it, but the core story is actually very good. Relatively no-name kid has these kind of visions of grandeur and having power, an underground society hell-bent in being at war with each other over the course of pretty much at all time. It's pretty neat, but this being an issue #1 didn't grab me. It didn't pull me in the way that like Damage did, the way that Sideways did, and even the way Curse of Brimstone. I wasn't really that impressed with Curse of Brimstone, but like at least that really grabbed me as like an origin story. It pulled me in. This was it was okay. I mean, it literally it took me 3 days to finish this book. Mainly because I would read a little bit and then I would get distracted. I'd put it down. I'd read a little bit. I'd get distracted. I'd put it down and read a little bit. A good comic, I can't put down. A good comic, I read and I read, and then I hit the last page and I'm like, when does the next issue come out? I want to know what happens in the next issue, but again, it didn't really pick up steam until the very end. There are some, I would say, scene changes that make it feel a little disjointed, and characters that are introduced that I really don't care about. So let's kind of jump in. You start off with this dream sequence, and this is the first problem I have with this book. Narration blocks, where the writer is telling me the story of what is happening in the pictures. I don't like that. That being said, there's another book, Deathbed, which I really do like, that does a really good narration, but it doesn't, what it does right compared to what this is doing. Deathbed gives a narration of kind of, I would say, like background information. It's kind of like a little bit of white noise area. This is almost like a play-by-play of what is happening in the panels. I really feel that this could have been better done by like thought blocks or something, instead of the narrator telling me this story. This could have been Caden, who's kind of like the main character. Caden telling me what's going on. A bubble here, like, oh no, same dream again. Gotta get out. Everyone's dying. Just rushing around, like, I gotta find the exit. I know if I can just last a little longer, like, he'll save me. And then boom, you have the hand. That right there would have told me a lot of information of what I'm looking at without all of these careless word bubbles. You kind of get this, and same here. I mean, look at all of this narration. I haven't heard one single word of a character. All I see are pictures and what the narrator wants me to know. Again, this could have been told to me by a character rather than by the writer. And I think that would have given a little more depth to the story. Again, like this, the man's eyes tell him so, eyes so powerful, piercing, they've seen so much. This could have been Caden talking, like, this is always where I see, the man with, the eyes that are powerful. It could have just been reworked. He should have been telling me the story. It turns out that he has these dreams. They're almost like visions. It's the same one every time of this, I forget what they call it, but this is like the, like the base, I don't want to say base, like the campus, that's what they call it. but this is where the Immortal Men kind of gather, a safe space. But what I like here is then you kind of get into the growing of Caden, and I actually like Caden as a character. He's a normal kid who kind of saw Superman once when he was younger. Started kind of having these like dreams about being kind of part of something bigger, and I like that. I like that, you know, he seems like a normal person, but he wants to be kind of part of the big picture. And you know, he starts kind of having these. You know what he reminds me of? If any of you guys ever watched Heroes, he reminds me of like either like the Peter Petrelli character or the Hero character. Characters who are like humble and unassuming, but know they have a bigger purpose. And I think that's what Caden is. He feels he has a bigger purpose. He just doesn't know how to fit that in yet. He's also experiencing some powers where he can kind of touch people and see visions of them. It kind of is reminiscent of Bruce Willis's power in Unbreakable, where he can kind of touch them. And I don't know if he sees future actions or like recent past actions, but like he's touching his therapist, and he sees her kind of at home alone, but he says, you know, he doesn't see anything, because I think he knows that in his head it sounds more ridiculous than if he were to even say it out loud. So he doesn't want to even, you know, he's like, look, you know what, I don't even want to go down this road. I'm not seeing this. Again, you kind of get with, you know, his parents seem well off, but they seem to be loving and caring with him. But then you break into this other scene, and you have the Hunt, you know, who I'm assuming is kind of like on the dark side of the Immortal Men, but they never really explain that. And it seems that he works for, I would assume, again, the Immortal Man, his sister, you know, who again seems kind of hell-bent on this, like, tipping the scales of this war that's been back and forth through the years. You get, again, it kind of, you get some good action scenes, but it really doesn't ramp up until the very end. And it kind of, even here, like, it took me a second, like Caden falls into a trap, and you have these word bubbles, and it took me a second. It's in a subway car. I couldn't figure out if she's just looking from the outside of the subway car, or if they're like TV screens or what. But either way, you kind of get close to the action. Again, the story didn't really ramp up for me here, and then it does end at a pretty good point where you say, oh, I guess I want to know what happens, because this book really, you know, actually, I figured it out. There's good cliffhanger and bad cliffhanger. A good cliffhanger gives you just enough information and says what happens next, and you go, ooh, I want to know what happens next. This is bad cliffhanger, where it doesn't give you hardly any information, and you're puzzled at the end. You go, well, now, but what happens next, kind of thing. Like, you're wondering, but you're wondering not because you're really interested, because you just don't have all the information. And so it kind of leaves you just puzzled and perplexed. I'll pick up number 2. I'll give it an arc. Again, I wasn't really 100% impressed. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Subscribe over here, watch some more videos, hit me up in the comments, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you next time.